one of the most common misconceptions I see in e-com is that having higher customer acquisition costs is bad. And this is not inherently true. And so I'm going to break down why this is not always the case and what you can do to utilize a higher customer acquisition cost. So one thing that you need to keep in mind is that cheap customers are cheap for a reason. And so obviously you can have good creatives with good angles and good copy that reduce customer acquisition, but having higher acquisition is not something you should always be afraid of. And so let's look at these two brands, for example. So we have brand A, their customer acquisition cost is $45, average order value is 60, and they're at 60% margin, so $36 on every single order. But only 15% of their customers buy again. And so essentially it's almost a net negative on almost every customer. And they're losing about $9 on every single order where people don't buy again. And we have brand B, their customer acquisition cost is $50 more, so $95. The average order value is $90 at 60% margin. So they're getting $54 on every first order, and 45% of the customers are buying again. And so over the customer's lifetime, they average 2.4 orders, which is $130 in contribution. So they're getting a net of $35 per customer. So what is LTV doing here? It's increasing the spending ceiling for brand B, and this allows them to outbid competitors in auctions and ads. Retention allows offense and acquisition. And I feel like not a lot of brands think about this, because if you know that a customer is going to come back, that means you can spend more on acquisition because you know that you'll get that money back eventually. There are two caveats to this, and let's go back to brand B. So their customer acquisition cost was $95, but let's just say it takes them 3 years for them to get that third order from that customer. At that point, the higher customer acquisition cost is not justified because it takes so long for them to get their money back. Number two is that if you are calculating these numbers, it needs to be based on the contribution margin. So that's essentially the cash that hits the bank and not your revenue. So here are some basic guidelines that you can follow. So if your CAC is up and your AOV and lifetime value is also going up, this is really good. If your CAC is going up and your LTV is staying flat, so customers are not buying again, then this is not good, which means that you're having a leak somewhere when it comes to retention. Here are two things you can do right now to analyze your data. So I recommend you split your customer acquisition costs by cohort. And so you can look at discount versus full price buyers, analyze their repeat purchase rate over 90 days. And then number two is what I specialize in. So fixed sequences that turn order one into order two. So yeah, post-purchase, abandonment flows, subscriber onboarding, replenishment flows, and things like win back. And so the goal is to build a system that earns you the right to spend more than your competitors. And so it's not always about focusing on the acquisition. If you focus on the retention, increasing lifetime value, increasing average order value, then from there, you're able to create offense from that and spend more on getting those customers. And so if you need help implementing any of this, DM me CAC, and let's get started.